Meditative, mystery, magic. The Seagram Murals. These are the first three words that come to mind when I picture the Seagram Murals. I remember very vividly just wandering through Tate Modern and just happening upon this space. And I go like this, ladies and gentlemen, because there are no words, no worthy words to describe the immense impact, not of the room, but the artwork, the emotional unease within you, the almost palpable whir of your accelerating imagination, the phenomenon that lies before you, that strikes you, and then absorbs your entire being, your entire soul, other than this. I walked in that room, and I sat there for a long, long time, just staring at the dark beauty of the Seagram Murals. Painted by Mark Rothko in 1958, they appear timeless, but definitely not unchanging. Rothko was commissioned to provide paintings for the new luxurious restaurant, the Four Seasons, in Park Avenue, Manhattan, built by Philip Johnson and Mies van der Rohe. Rothko thought long and hard about the commission, but eventually gave in to a $35,000 offer, which would be around $2 million today. However, he did disclose the real reason for the painting of the Seagram Murals: to paint something that will ruin the appetite of every son of a bitch who ever eats in that room. He was also heavily influenced by Michelangelo's Laurentian Library in Florence, with its blind windows and deliberately oppressive atmosphere. And he commented, "Michelangelo achieved just the kind of feeling I'm after. He makes the viewer feel they're trapped in a room where all the doors and windows are bricked up and all they can do is butt their heads forever against the wall." And in some respects, Rothko has achieved this to the highest degree. The murals completely alter your mood and work an obscure, dark magic upon your thoughts. And yes, sometimes you feel you have been confined to a very small, pitch-black room, drawn in by the mysterious colors and shapes before you. They can deliver a claustrophobic, almost suffocating atmosphere. Yet that is definitely not the impression experienced by everyone. They are undefined, and thus they wield far more power over a wider audience. They are, to the viewer, what the viewer observes them to be. And as each viewer is uniquely themselves with their own thoughts and own mentality, the murals affect each in a unique and distinctive way. What I imagined and took the murals to mean could be completely different to what you, or any of you, might feel when sitting in the Rothko room. Some might feel unnerved at what lies before them, conjuring images of dried blood. Or perhaps your thoughts turn as red as the paintings. Personally, I feel the most common interpretation is that of a window or a door, some sort of boundary between this world and our world beyond. We know not what that world may be, but we do know we are on that journey, and we know we have no choice. Rothko stated that the murals were an unknown adventure into an unknown place. And I think that truly encapsulates the feeling behind the paintings. It is then up to the viewer what place they travel to. Some people consider the murals as religious, believing the window frame-like structure represents the door into heaven, or perhaps, more likely, the entrance to hell, with the baleful reds and seductive composition. From a non-religious perspective, the imagination receives full rein and swiftly contrives whole backplots and envisages fantastical scenarios. Or maybe that's just me. But there is no doubt that for some, the murals show an ethereal portal, an opening to an imaginary space, leading you into another dimension, an ambiguous space beyond something. They are definitely not a physical entity, and there's an understanding within you that if you try to reach out and touch the almost mist-like reds, browns, and blacks, your hand would not feel the unique texture of his finely layered paint, and indeed never would, but would extend beyond the painting into the unknown and the unnamed. Or they would appear but an illusion or a hologram, a weightless substance which would disperse when touched. There is also a sense that where some see a window, others see pillars. And this is in fact more accurate than one might believe. For Rothko traveled to Florence, Rome, Venice, and Pompeii to gain inspiration. I've already mentioned the influence of the Laurentian Library in Florence. And then there was the somber colors of the murals in the Pompeian Villa of the Mysteries. But the Roman pillars also played a significant role in the painting of the Seagram Murals. One can see this very clearly with some of his paintings. For example, here is the light shining through the temple, silhouetting the pillars, making them appear in contrast, and thus creating a fantastic shadow, and thus creating a mysterious essence to the painting. I have just been to Rome, and I too can see how Rothko could have been influenced. The impressive scale generates a sense of awe, and you feel insignificant beside the beautifully carved and skillfully crafted white marble, which, when surrounded by the Seagram murals, you too can feel. Mythology also had a great effect on Rothko, believing his art had the role of relieving modern man's spiritual emptiness. And this emptiness resulted partly from a lack of mythology. And thus, these travels through Rome and the potent influence of many of the old Roman buildings and temples added to the murals a mythological aspect, which Rothko hoped would free unconscious energies. In the end, Rothko created over 30 paintings, even though there was only room for 7. He had become absorbed in his work, even renting an old gymnasium and constructing a scaffold to match the exact dimensions of the restaurant. However, they never reached their intended destination, because Rothko decided he disliked the dining room's atmosphere and he broke the contract. The final series now hangs in 3 locations: Tate Modern in London, Japan's Kawamura Memorial Museum, and the National Gallery of Art in Washington, D.C. I have only seen them in Tate Modern, but found myself so profoundly affected by them. Rothko stated the murals are not paintings, instead proclaiming, "I have made a place." And for me, this cannot be more true. The moment you step in that room, you are transported, whether it be to a place created within your imagination or transported to a different mood. If I'm feeling very creative, I might decide I'm wandering through some vaporous planet. The mist-like reds are fog around me, and the window frame-like structure are shapes in the fumes coming at me. I can see danger. Or I can feel a deep sense of calm. They can settle your thoughts and allow you to contemplate and reflect on yourself or indeed the world. Thus, at the heart of the Seagram murals is ambiguity. I can feel meditative, or I can agree to leave them as a mystery. Or, even better, I can indulge in magic. Thank you.
Erin and Mark Rothko, and this kind of passionate red voice that you created in the room, I thought was great. I felt for you because I think the images don't illustrate the paintings at all, and I think the way that you presented with such description really helped, that we couldn't see the work, we couldn't understand what these paintings were because, of course, it's an emotional response rather than a visual one. And I think you kind of got round that problem with your delivery, which I thought was very particular and pertinent for the subject.